The day then became filled with Diana teaching me about magic. Even when the day ended, I needed to learn more. I began to crave it. It's because you ate that demon pomegranate, girl. I begged Diana to stay, despite knowing her deal. Diana, despite promising to only stay a day, agreed to stay longer to tell me more. Soon, days passed by, filled with lessons and examples of magic. Knowing that I would be missed at school, Diana quickly took care of making sure I wasn't missed. Using a simple spell, as she called it, she created an illusion of me to go in my place. It was real to humans and acted just like me, but was like a ghost to demons. I kinda wish that I could remember that spell. No kidding. She told me of vampires, creatures that looked just like humans who had an inner hierarchy. There were 4 types of vampires, but all of them were under oath by the rule of worlds not to hunt humans. It was strange, and it felt like a fictional novel, but Diana promised that vampires were not like the books. They had adapted to living with humans, creating a formula that allowed them to walk around during the day. They even had a blood bank as currency and made synthetic blood to quench their thirst. They had real blood to drink, of course, but they got it either through hospital blood drives or black market means. It was surreal. Devils were as chaotic as Malix was, but they were still all under the command of the very powerful fallen angel and devil king, Satan. He, however, still had the heart of an angel. He was simply sitting in hell and waiting for an opening into the human world. I hoped it would never come. Amen. Angels, on the other hand, were not as I expected. When I thought of my namesake, angels, I imagined beautiful human-looking creatures with wings and halos.
I still wonder who spread that rumor.
Diana explained that they actually looked monstrous. Each archetype of angel looked different, but Diana couldn't describe them all. The one that stood out most to me was the seraphim. She described it as a mysterious creature that hid behind 3 large pairs of wings. What if the seraphim did look human?
Well, anyone who has met a seraphim and tried to find out has not lived to spill the secret.
It was scary to hear that for some reason. Angels were strict and were not as forgiving as many claimed. According to Diana, they had a love-hate relationship with humans, but they didn't try to dominate us. They only became mediators for the rule of the worlds. Why not?
I'd rather not get into that.
Why?
It's not my place to talk about heaven. Only the angels.
She also mentioned their methods for memory removal. As the self-proclaimed guardians of the humans, they had the right to baptize humans who held memories of otherworldly creatures should they find any in the human world. This baptism not only erased the memories of magic, but erased their entire memory clean. Humans wouldn't remember who they were or who they knew. A blank canvas. Surely that's kind of troublematic. Wow, I combined troublesome and problematic into troublematic. Oy. Moving on. Demons, however, unlike the others, were passive creatures that only truly cared for their own world. They had their own lands, kingdoms, and lord living there. The most powerful demon in the Abyssal Plains was the Demon Lord. He was the incubi boys' father, and he was a ruthless man. He had conquered several kingdoms with a massive indestructible army. Many demons died under his brutality, but when he did conquer, life for demons was like the human Renaissance. Many feared what land he would attack next. However, to everyone's surprise, the Demon Lord had tried to be peaceful with Diana's kingdom as she was offered as a bride to one of his sons. Why would you accept that?
I had no choice. I was barely a child when the decision was made, and when I learned of it, I had accepted it.
You were that powerful already that he was like, oh crap, maybe we should make peace. Why though? How would you know if you would be in love with the guy you married? Oh, Angel.
It didn't matter. My kingdom would be safe, and I would be able to live with knowing I was able to protect my kingdom.
I stared at Diana as she smiled at me with sad eyes. She really didn't want to marry them. It was practically painted all over her face. Which would explain why she gave up easily? Kind of, but then why did she be such a tryhard in the beginning. Maybe we'll find out more. I'll wait for Diana to explain some more, maybe. You shouldn't have to marry someone you don't love. I mean, you shouldn't have to, but I know that sometimes it has been done. Like in this case, for peace. For many years. Not really done as much nowadays, but through the centuries it has been done. Diana's face shifted to one of surprise as she looked to me. I was being honest, though. She shouldn't have to marry someone to protect a kingdom. It would be safe, yes, but you would be unhappy. Can you live with yourself knowing that?
I'd rather be unhappy than see my kingdom burn to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, as the bride of the next demon lord, I'd have the ability to change things. I could disband his armies, bring peace to the abyssal plains.
I get you, girl. I totally get it. What about love? Don't you want someone to care about you? What about love? Don't let it slip away.
Love?
Yeah, you never heard that song? Diana looked at her lap and sighed.
Love can't exist for me. I'm the most powerful succubus in the demon world. Anyone who would go after me would only be entranced by my power.
I'm not. Diana chuckled, making me blush a bit. I was being honest, and here she was laughing at my words. Oh, Angel.
You're a human, dear. You can't know when I'm using my powers or not. I could be using them now, making you interested in me to trust me.
But you're not, are you? Diana then silenced herself. She stared at me, knowing that her silence would give me my answer. I smirked at her. You like me. You want to date me. And marry me and kiss me.
What?
You like me. You definitely like me.
I do not. I'm merely fulfilling my end of the deal.
Oh, you crazy people. I felt like a tease. She was being nice to me and wasn't using her powers over me because she liked me. It was too obvious. You like me. You like me. You like me. What I didn't expect was this picture. Was her taking my hand and forcing me closer to her. A mere inch separated our lips, but Diana's stare into my soul made my mind go blank. I barely remembered what I was saying. Diana remained holding me. I didn't fight. She stared into my soul and I allowed it. I was concerned and at the same time, I was intrigued. Diana was indeed a beautiful woman. Seeing her up close made my face turn slightly red in embarrassment. Any moment, she could lean in and kiss me, maybe even take my energy. However, she didn't.
You are interesting for a human.
And that's the most you're gonna get out of her. She then released me and stared at me, watching as I stared back at her with a red face. Did I like her? I shook my head. No way. That was impossible. Angel, why do you flip-flop so much? That bothers me to no end. Like, just pick a lane, girl. Ugh. We're just on a business deal. Nothing more.
Is there anything else you wanted to know?
Was it always daytime, or did it suddenly become daytime? I stared at her as I thought. Was there anything else I wanted to know? My memories were forfeit in the end, so everything was up for grabs. Yet I couldn't think of a single question to ask. Was that all I wished to know? No, there was nothing else I needed to know. I felt satisfied. Really? No, that should be all.
I understand.
Diana stood and adjusted the bottom of her dress before smiling at me. I barely noticed how much time had passed between us. It felt like forever, yet I enjoyed learning more. I felt bad that I had to lose my memories. However, that was the deal, and according to Diana, demons never go back on their word. Are you using your powers on her right now, Diana? Is that why Angel's being so strange?
Well, if you don't mind, there's one place I need to visit, and I'd rather visit it now than after I take your memories. I'll be gone from the area for quite a while, anyway.
Huh? Where do you need to go?
A cemetery. There's something I need to do there. It's boring, sadly, but I need to do it. You need to come with so I can watch you.
The cemetery, you say? Interesting. Why did she need to go to the cemetery? Did she have a human friend she needed to say goodbye to? Did she have to meet with another demon? Sure, let me...
No need to get dressed up. It's just a brief visit.
Diana snapped her fingers and the world melted into black. I stood and walked to be beside Diana, unsure of what was happening. Why wasn't the world spinning instead? Was the spinning a trick she did? I felt myself click my teeth in irritation of that thought. Soon the world grew back its color and we were standing in a field I somehow recognized. I looked down and regretted it. Well, obviously. Did you bring us into the rain with no umbrella, Diana? Rude. At our feet was grandfather's gravestone. It was untouched and as clean as when I last remembered seeing it. Why were we here?
Here we are.
Here? I stared at Diana as she muttered a small incantation under her breath. In her hands formed a small vase with purple lilacs. She gently knelt down and placed them beside the grave.
I had to pay my respects to this man.
Patori, you were totally right. Patori, your theory was completely correct. Good on you, man. Why? Were you a friend of his? I needed to know. My mind began screaming. Something wasn't right. Why did she know him? How did she know he was dead? What was their relationship? What was going on?
No, I wasn't a friend of his. I didn't even know him.
Then why are you giving him flowers? My mind began to screech louder in my head. What was it? Why? Why? Diana, why are you giving him flowers?
You don't need to know. I highly doubt you knew this man.
Oh, good grief, Diana. Yes, I do. Diana stared wide-eyed at me, a mixture of fear and surprise mixed in her eyes. My heart began to squeeze tightly in my chest. Why was she looking at me like that?
How do you know him?
Answer my question.
How?
I said answer my question! I couldn't hold in my voice. I needed to hear her answer, and I didn't want to hear anything else. Anything other than her answer would infuriate me. Diana looked down at the grave, letting out a small sigh. My heart tightened further. Okay, so she didn't know that we were related. Or maybe she found out later in the other roots, I don't know. Answer me. I needed the answer.
This man helped the boys come to the human world. He opened a bridge and let them through, before sealing it with a part of his life force.
There was more. I knew there was more. I remained silent as she took a breath.
I had come to visit their castle one day, and when they told me that the boys were gone, I became frantic. Without the contract marriage, the demon lord would have had the freedom to march on my kingdom and conquer it. I couldn't let that happen. So I tried to find a way here. I searched the castle during my brief visit, trying to find out where the boys went. I found it. This man left behind a small trace of his spell, small enough to be undetected by the inhabitants of the castle.
You killed my grandfather, didn't you? Diana looked to me, a look of pain on her face that made my already pained heart feel like it was punctured by needles.
Demon magic is best with consent, but takes more energy when forced. So, in a blind need, I recast the spell and used that man's life force to open the bridge once more and seal it completely when I walked through. I didn't know I was taking the rest of his life.
Ooh, well that stings.
By the time the bridge closed, the man had already passed. He was visiting someone in a nearby hospital, so when I left to find the boys, the staff had found him and tried to revive him. I didn't want to take his life. I thought he was a younger man. I didn't know he was as old as he was. It's my fault this man is dead. But I needed to come to the human world, and he was my only chance to get close enough to track the boys down.
Diana tensed up and stared at me. Her face was painted with regret and sadness, something not like her usual self. You killed my grandfather. Prepare to die. You killed my grandfather.
Your grandfather?
Don't attack her, that's silly. Run! I needed to leave. I needed to go. I quickly turned and ran, hearing Diana call out for me from behind.
Wait!
I ran. I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. She started all of this. She was the one who turned my world upside down. She was the reason for this chaos I was in. She took my grandfather away. I ran through the gates of the cemetery and through the streets to my house. This time the world was in slow motion and I was the one going in fast forward. I didn't care what was going on around me. I just needed to run. My heart began to freeze in my chest, pained by the feeling of needles and knives piercing through it. Tears were running down my face, but I knew where I was running. I ran through the front gates of my house and sprinted inside. I zipped up the stairs and ran into my room. As I slammed the door behind me, I began to weep violently. I leaned against the door and slid to the ground, crying. My world was crumbling, and I didn't like it. My world was broken apart, and I didn't want it. All I could do, though, was cry. My heart denied me from thinking about anything else. I cried. I continued to cry. I let my heart empty of its pain with each tear that ran down my cheeks. Really? What? Ah! My scream echoed through my room, bouncing around and reverberating into my ears. I didn't care if it hurt to hear it. I didn't care about anything anymore. All I cared about was crying. I curled into a ball and cried. I didn't even know when I passed out. I didn't remember closing my eyes and letting darkness take me. The darkness was comforting. I felt my sadness numb within it. There was no reality in that darkness to haunt me or hurt me. I wanted to stay within it forever. However, my body forced me to open my eyes. I saw the room focus around me and I realized that I was staring at the ceiling. I was in bed, under my covers. Okay, I thought I skipped. I sat up and looked around, stopping to see Diana leaning against the balcony window, looking away from me. Why was she here? Did she carry me to bed? I felt my anger wanting to speak out against Diana, but I noticed the puffiness around her visible eye. Had she been crying? Seeing her bloodshot, puffy eye made me fully aware of my own eyes and how dry they had become after crying. I rubbed my eyes and let out a shaky sigh.
I'm sorry.
I stared at Diana. My heart didn't want to hear it, but I let her speak.
I didn't want to come here in the first place. I only thought of bringing the boys back to protect my kingdom, so everything else became secondary. I didn't mean to take his life.
But you did.
I did. I can't ask for forgiveness, but I still am sorry. If I could turn back time, I would find another way.
You know, it's because of you that I met the boys.
Huh?
I looked at my blanket-covered lap. I remembered the funeral, the moving, the meeting with the boys. Everything came at me at once, and now I had the one puzzle piece that fit it all together. If my grandfather hadn't died, he'd still be living here, and he'd be the one taking care of the boys instead of me. But he died and gave me his estate, so I came and met them for the first time. I looked at Diana, seeing her sad face. I could tell she really regretted her choice, and she was upset. I couldn't sense any deception in her. I guess I have to thank you for introducing me to them and to magic, since my grandfather couldn't do it himself anyway. Diana looked down, pressing her lips together and closing her eyes.
I need to take your memories now. A deal's a deal. I fulfilled my part and told you everything. I had nothing left to tell you, and you can't keep those memories.
I didn't speak. I watched as Diana argued into the air without taking my memories. It felt like she was now doubting the deal, not wanting to take away the truth from me. Did I want her to? This was my chance to return to ignorance. I'd never remember that she took my grandfather's life. I'd never remember everything she showed me and taught me. I'd return to normalcy. Don't do it, though. Diana stared at me, a look of almost despair on her face. I, however, kept my eyes to her. You took away my grandfather. What gives you the right to take my memories away?
But
I'm not done speaking. Diana shut her mouth, listening obediently. I needed to speak my mind. She had no right to take anything away. I knew the truth now, and that was all that mattered to me. Screw the rules. I deserve to remember everything. I was thrown into this mess because of you. No one has the right to take anything away from me. Diana took a step towards me, and I was ready to snap at her. However, she gently leaned over me and ran a hand over my head.
All right.
Really? Man, that was easy. What?
I won't take your memories.
I stared up at her in shock. Was she serious? Diana smiled at me and stood back up.
You're right. You deserve to know everything. It's the least I can do.
I felt almost joyful. She agreed with me. This was a huge deal. I still didn't forgive Diana, but it was better to know than to be left in ignorance. Eventually, I would be able to move on. Until then, Diana was willing to stay and teach me the life my grandfather knew in redemption. It was something.
Head back to sleep and I'll teach you more in the morning. I'll stay a few more days until you know everything.
Something felt off, but I nodded, feeling exhaustion drift over me again. Was it natural? I didn't know. My head began to spin and I needed more rest. Diana gently laid me back down and moved hair from my face.
Rest.
As if from a spell, I closed my eyes and fell back into an unconscious darkness. My heart was healing, and it would take time to heal. Thankfully, it had time now to heal and to grow stronger.